This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
And this is Mike White, and you can find me at I am Mike White on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, more of our podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/The Obsessive Viewer. And finally, you can support us on Patreon at Patreon.com/Obsessive Viewer at the minimum rate of $1 per month for an exclusive RSS feed with content recorded specifically for Patreon supporters. So this episode is a bonus episode after our year in review episode. If we picked up any new listeners from the 2018 review episode, welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode that we've totally recorded already. Welcome. Mike, how's it going, bud?
It's going well. Doing all right.
Nice.
Here on a Saturday night.
Yes. Oh, yes. Here in Indianapolis, it's almost 10 p.m. Saturday night. So.
Oh man, I'm keeping you up. I apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. I've got nothing going. I've literally had a surprisingly lazy day. I did some
delightful.
Oh, it was great. Like I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I had my cat just laying in my lap pretty much all day. So it was nice. Good. It was nice.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, but today we are giving a bonus episode. Basically, we're reviewing Escape Room, which recently came out. It was the first movie that I saw, the first 2019 release movie that I saw. And, Mike, you watched it for your 400th movie night.
Yes.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure, I'd love to. I feel like I've talked about it a lot, so if you're a long-time listener, I'll try not to harp on it too much. Yeah.
But
it is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's super awesome. So, 8.25 years ago or whatever, my roommate at the time, Jake, and we went to go see Scott Pilgrim versus the World on a Thursday night. We're both teachers, and we thought that it would be fun. We watched the movie. The movie was great, and we turned to each other and we were like, man, we should do this every week on a Thursday. How cool would that be? And I feel like people say that a lot, let's do this every week and see how long we can take it, and then you kind of drop off after so long. But we have done 400 movies. We just hit 400. It boggles the mind a little bit to think about that number. That's insane. 400 is in theaters. I don't know that I had seen 400 movies total my entire life up to that point.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's very
right when I was whatever that was, 24.
Yeah,
when we started.
Yeah, that was. You said it was 8 years ago.
It was 8 years ago. Yeah.
God, that's nuts. For some reason, I just didn't it. It predates the podcast. That's insane.
It does. August or September. Shoot, I can't remember.
I think August.
It was August 2010. Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, so...
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's 23? I don't know. Anyway. But up to that point, I maybe watched, on a busy year, I probably watched 15 movies in theaters.
Oh, interesting.
Right? And now it's 60 plus every year.
Yeah.
Cause I still, I see random movies. I see with other friends. I see movies with my wife. I see movies by myself. I see movies with you every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have done 400. Now that is not, that's not necessarily 400 nights or days.
Sure.
Okay.
Right. Cause sometimes you double up.
Sometimes we do double features, especially kind of lately with AMC. We've done double features we're trying to get our 10-year and 500
right
on the same week. And it's going to take us a lot of work to do because our 10 years in August and obviously it's January. So we got to do about 10 or 12 double features between now and the next 2 years, which is possible, but we've got work to do. Okay. And we skip, like the week of Christmas, we skip. The week of Thanksgiving, we skip. And so I don't count these as misses because since the very beginning, we just officially said, the first couple of years, like I would go home for the week. So I'd be gone. Christmas. If there's like a vacation, we skip that week and one other. But other than that, there have only been 2 instances where we just said, we just can't make it. We're going to have to postpone or whatever. The third week, he actually said, man, I've got homecoming. I really need to prepare for this. So we did that. And then the Thursday after the Cubs won the World Series, we were just too exhausted. Right. And we just said, no, let's not go. But other than that, nothing. Like, there was a time where it was Thursday night, I was headed to the movie, and my wife calls and she's like, I'm dying right now. I feel like I have the flu and I'm pregnant. Will you come home?
I thought you were going to say, I'm in labor.
And I'm in labor. Will you come home? And I came home, and then Jake and I took the day off on Friday to go see a movie.
Nice.
Yeah. So 400 movies. Sorry, we're not supposed to be reviewing Escape Room.
Right. Well, that's awesome. That's very awesome. And I remember in one of the episodes this past year, you formally invited me and Tiny to 500.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll try to do that. Hopefully,
absolutely. I think we're trying to get kind of a group together for 500.
Nice.
Obviously, we don't know what the movie will be. That's still almost 2 years away, but I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. I'm really excited for a peek behind the curtain. Obviously, we've mentioned that this is being recorded before we record our year in review episode, and I'm sure that we'll talk about this when we record that on Monday, but we've disclosed to each other what our top 10s are, but we haven't necessarily disclosed our stats, and I'm just really excited to record that. Because
your numbers are going to be bigger than mine.
Oh, Michael. Yeah. Yes.
I know.
I'm excited because it's the first year that we're all in with Letterboxd, so I'm anticipating us to go through the Letterboxd stats page and all that. So it's going to be fun. But our listeners have already heard that episode, so anyway.
Yeah, that episode? You mean since July? Every episode when we talk about it?
No. I mean the episode we're going to record.
Oh,
since
right,
this comes after. But yeah, also, yeah. If you guys don't know what Letterboxd is...
No, don't go there. They know. They know.
It was funny because Matt and Draco, one of our Patreon subscribers, and he's a friend of ours, he commented on a Facebook post I had where he said something about it was A-list. That's what it was. He mentioned what's I posted on Facebook my A-list stats, and he's like, "What's A-list? Is there anywhere that I can find where it's very detailed?"
I thought he was kidding, right?
I think so.
Okay.
He had to have been. So like I said, hey, yeah, listen to any episode of the podcast from 240 to 265.
Right.
But yeah. So, and I was like, for a second, I was like, wait, is he joking? I'm like, no, he listens to the podcast. Yeah. He knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tiny officially has A-list now. So,
love it.
Yep. So I'm excited for that. So my goal, well, I'll talk about that in the year in review episode. Anyway, so Escape Room. I made this joke, and I apologize. It's my current favorite movie of 2019.
Yeah, I guess it's also the worst, isn't it?
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and go into our review of Escape Room. I'm going to go ahead and read the plot description courtesy of IMDb once it loads here. And Mike, I remember when we were reviewing Spider-Verse that I'd mentioned like I was looking forward to the beginning of the year and kind of the doldrums of the theater going experience because I wanted to just kind of cleanse my palate from all the 2018 movies I'd kind of forced myself to watch at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And also because of the possibility of hidden gems or movies that are passable to good that will eventually be forgotten.
They haven't, in recent years, to me, they haven't been that bad. I guess I shouldn't say they haven't been that bad. It's just that in January and February, there are still, like, the lingering great end of the year movies.
Yes.
For that, at movie night, we go out to see. Like, I saw Shape of Water in the middle of January, which used to be, obviously, I mean, it still is. It's the dumping ground for bad movies, but it used to be all there was, and for whatever reason, I guess those Oscar movies are just kind of lingering a little bit longer.
Well, I think a big part of that is also the fact that we live in Indiana, so those are like when the nominations come out, that's when they get like a wide release and kind of a push for the Oscar
to
ride that Oscar nomination.
Some of the smaller ones we might have missed come back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so Escape Room is not going to be nominated for any Oscars, but it is, according to IMDb, Escape Room is about 6 strangers find themselves in circumstances beyond their control and must use their wits to survive. The movie stars Deborah Ann Woll from Daredevil and True Blood, Taylor Russell, Tyler Labine, from Tucker and Dale versus Evil, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Logan Miller, who he was in Love, Simon. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and some other people. This movie, Mike, what did you think about the movie going into it? Like, what was, because I know you've seen the trailers.
Before I go into like the preemptive, like what did I think going into it? I want to say that you and I kind of texted each other right after. We both saw this movie on Thursday, so day of release. I saw a 6:45 show. What about you?
I saw, what time? 7 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, immediately after, I saw a couple people, I'm going to name drop again, bloodydisgusting.com. I saw them tweeting about how much they liked it, and maybe admittedly to ingratiate myself with them, I kind of like looked at the positives of it and was able to spin it. Now, I am going to talk about those positives because I do think there's enough to like about this movie. But when you kind of gave your review to me later and then again on Letterboxd, I was like, I can't really disagree with anything you have to say about that. So let me kind of walk back some of my, I don't know that I gave you any negativity in my immediate review, and I feel like I should have.
Well, yeah, but also okay, so it is also your immediate reaction, so obviously you're not going to be very critical of it if you enjoyed it. But also, as it's been,
I'll tell you my immediate reaction.
But also, there should be the caveat that you watch a ton of horror movies specifically, and you have a higher threshold for lackluster horror thriller movies.
Absolutely. So, yeah. A lower bar, I guess, in terms of entertainment for horror movies. I also think that I've kind of just been on this is going to sound weird to say, but like this positivity kick.
Sure.
Where like I'm like I don't even do a top 10 worst movies list anymore. I'd rather talk about things I like, celebrate the good than blow up the bad. But also I think it's so easy to riff on a movie you didn't like. I think it's more fun and more constructive to find the things you do like and find new ways to go into those things, if that makes sense, right? It's almost like I anticipated people to not like this movie, because admittedly there's a lot wrong with this movie.
Right.
But I kind of wanted to say, well, what if we look at the things we did enjoy, which I think we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That kind of brings me to a little bit of a tangent, but I saw a post on a subreddit that I subscribe to that was like, it's a Letterboxd official, their subreddit. Someone posted, and they got kind of downvoted, but they were like, does anyone have any recommendations for critics who, for reviewers on Letterboxd who aren't like professional critics and won't just shit on a movie? And it kind of came across, like, I get why it was downvoted, because it was just like, one person was like, well, if every movie's good, then no movie's good. Like, it's.
But fuck that. Yeah. That's not true.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Right?
Like, I mean, yeah. What they're saying is, like, if you're positive about every movie, then, like, it's. How does it stand out amongst. Oh, I get, yeah.
Can't you be varying degrees of positivity? And also, what does that mean? Like, they're just gonna stop making good movies because people think all the bad ones are good? I just think that's extremely nihilistic and unrealistic.
Yeah. And I think that what the post was getting at was just that it was, they're tired of the negativity. Like, people like
exactly.
Yeah,
we're in the age of negativity.
Mm-hmm. But like, there's a difference between being negative on something versus being critical of its faults.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
absolutely.
I think
that's what I'm going to try to do here. And maybe I guess what I regret with my tweets or with talking to you is that I wasn't doing my job as a critic. I was doing a job as like a protector.
Sure. Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay. Going in, I think I was more psyched, like, to celebrate 400 and to eat B-dubs beforehand.
Nice.
And then, but it was like, I thought the concept sounded cool. I was hoping we'd find, I don't know. I guess it was pretty much what I expected it to be. I figured it would be a PG-13 Saw, and in a lot of ways it is.
Yeah. With a little bit of, I get Cabin in the Woods a little bit.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, in Belko Experiment too.
Sure,
Yeah. I was kind of a similar thing. I didn't have, like, it wasn't a movie that was really on my radar. Like, I on Letterboxd, I have a, by the way, you can follow us on Letterboxd at Obsessive Viewer. I am Mike White and Obsessive Tiny. But, I made a list that's on my radar, 2019 movies that are set for release in 2019 that I want to see. And Escape Room wasn't on it just cause, like you said, it looked like a PG-13 Saw. Like, the trailers made it look like a ripoff of Saw 2 specifically.
When Saw 5 is the one that comes to mind for me.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've never seen past Saw 3.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. Yep. But yeah, it just looked like kind of just, a cash in for, I don't know if it's I don't know, like, people like escape, like the idea of an escape room, like, as like an activity, like, it's rising in popularity. It's been popular for a long time. I don't know if that's just like they're trying to cash in on that or what.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
One of our listeners was, she tweeted at me and was like, what's next? Are they going to make Hot Topic the movie?
Didn't they? It's called Suicide Squad.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
I mean, that's funny, but I feel like they have. I feel like they've made all kinds of Hot Topic pandering movies.
True.
So I think that the best way to review this movie or go through this movie, because we do, not to jump ahead, but we do have the same review. And so I think the best way to do this is really to just go through it chronologically. And I think you'll find, listeners, pretty much our review in the way that we talk about the plot of this movie. You know what I mean? Like, our review our review is almost in chronological order. Does that make sense? I know you know what I'm talking about, Matt.
Sure.
But
and it's also going to be upside down, and we have to unlock a thing.
Which is a great scene.
That was so cool. That was so
awesome.
cool.
It was the last great scene. Anyway.
Yeah, so if we go chronologically, how should we differentiate between spoiler and non-spoiler? Should we just do like broad terms and then go into
I mean, we'll save spoilers for later. I think we can get a vague gist of what's going on. So early on, the first, who do we, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm stuttering.
The first
we meet Zoe first in the classroom. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, first technically we meet, what's his face?
Oh,
that's
Ben.
The opening.
Okay. Yeah. We get, oh gosh, what's that called? There's a term for that where the film kind of tips its hand. And this is not a spoiler to say we see a trap from later on in the movie. Right. One of the characters, Ben, he's a young man, maybe early 20s. Yeah. And he is kind of running through and one of the traps walls are closing in on him. Yeah. And immediately I'm kind of into it.
Me too. And I was into it until it said 3 hours earlier, and I was like, wait, I thought that this was just like, oh, the last person who...
A different guy? Yeah. Is there, and I apologize if we're spoiling, I don't think we are because the film does it.
Right.
Is there something to that, do you think? Was that bothersome at all, like it spoiled?
Not really, actually.
I guess that it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't spoil the experience for me or anything. Like I was kind of, I mean, it was more that I was trying to get invested in the movie than kind of, take issue with anything like that. But it did throw me a little bit because I thought that it was just like, oh, this is the introduction. This is how we do, like, this is an escape room, but it's like, oh, okay, well, this is the escape room.
Right. So it starts off and I'm into it and I'm into this character. I think he's, I think he's the general audience for the film.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the adrenaline is high and I'm like, okay, this is what I hoped the movie would be.
Sure.
And then we meet Zoe in the classroom and it's like, sticky, drippy, gross, obvious exposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, immediately I'm like, this is my least favorite character in the movie. Mm-hmm. Luckily, so she's in the classroom and they're going over a lecture and, talking about, what are they are they talking about?
Oh, it's, some kind of quantum mechanics, a thing that gets, it's seeding something later in the movie that was right. We'll talk about that. It's
meant to be paid off, and we get that this character is I don't know, a savant. Yeah. I don't know that she's challenged, but she's going through something, but she's also brilliant, and she doesn't answer a question.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I hope this is not the rest of the movie.
Right.
Luckily, she's only one of 6.
Yeah, and to the movie's credit and also its detriment a little bit, we don't get like that scene for all the other characters, which I thought was fine because it goes right into the action and everything. But also it's like, okay, I don't care about these characters yet. Like these are just a collection of strangers that aren't fully developed yet. And we don't get like the big exposition dump until like midway through the movie when some of them have already been killed off.
Right.
And it just seemed like really weird. Like, I don't know. It just, well,
you're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
You're jumping ahead.
What I'll say is at the beginning, I wasn't as engaged with the characters as I was. So that kind of put me in a position to really only be affected or impressed by the mechanics of the movie and the situation, like the escape rooms themselves.
Right. Yeah. So then we meet Jason, played by Jay Ellis, and he's a very attractive businessman. Mm-hmm. And so we learn that he's kind of a dick.
Yeah. And
they all get invitations to this game. They show up to the game where we meet the 3 other main players. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting in the room, and we kind of just get what we see in the trailers. We learn that the waiting room, again, this is not spoiler, it's in the trailers. The waiting room that they're in becomes the game. The game begins. And even though we see it in the trailer, like I'm super into it. Have you ever done an escape room?
Not really. At Nightmare in Edgewood, they had like mini escape rooms and stuff.
Okay.
It was pretty cool, but I haven't done like a full-fledged one.
I've done 3.
Nice.
Yeah, so two separate instances. We did one, and then another day, a birthday thing, we did 2 rooms. Oh, cool. And that's kind of what it's like. They just say go, and you try to look for things that make sense. And I feel like the movie, like, I don't know that I'll watch it a bunch of times, but I feel like figuring out the solutions on your own is not impossible, which I kind of liked. Like, I don't know that that's the point of the movie, but there's one later on where they're like, so the second room, they get the characters who get through the first room, the second room, like, I figured out the riddle. And I'm like, okay, so it's almost like a play along.
And I did too, but like, I don't know what it says about me, but like, I was like, this is kind of ridiculously easy. Like, duh. Like,
yeah.
So I felt like maybe I didn't feel like I was outsmarting the movie or anything. I just felt like, okay, well, that's kind of
right.
And I mean, yeah, and I don't want to say anything because I'll spoil it, but well, yeah, it just.
I guess what I mean to say, I mean, it's not like I turned to Jake and I was like, I figured it out. I think my point is it gives you a way into the characters.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. That does. And it kind of, like you said, it's a play along kind of thing.
Right. But to a certain, it's a play along, like, we want you with us. This is not impossible.
Sure.
Right. The impossibility is the survival. Not the quizzes.
Yeah, and that's fair. And then I guess that kind of it might be skipping ahead a little bit, but that also brings it to kind of as the riddles themselves and the kind of thing. There's one at the end that's I laughed out loud in the theater.
Yeah.
But the kind of riddles and everything that are scattered throughout it, like, it didn't feel like there was enough of them. But when they were there, it just felt like it was less of a, like, oh, you got to solve it with the characters. It was more, for me, it was more like, okay, well, this is that. Like, I'll wait and see if they get it or not. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I guess so.
I was kind of passively experiencing those kinds of things in the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So here's the biggest compliment I'll pay the movie. By the time they get to the third area, by the time we see the first character die, the fact that the movie is PG-13, and I did tweet about this, the fact that the movie is PG-13 and bloodless, there's no blood, there's no gore, it is not torture porn, it is not a Saw movie. It's a horror thriller with no blood, no, I mean, it's a PG-13 through and through.
Right.
Without the titillation of blood and guts, like, you know, you go see a rated R horror movie, you go see a Saw movie, and it's not about rooting for characters, it's about, like, who is gonna get it and how, like how many body parts are we gonna see removed, how much evisceration are we gonna see. Sure. Weirdly enough, without that, I don't know if it's threat or, like, incentive for me, I really got engaged with the characters.
Interesting.
Particularly with Ben. I thought Mike, played by Tyler Labine, was pretty awesome. I thought Amanda, by Deborah Ann Wall, was great. And I thought Danny was pretty good too. I was really into what they had to say. I was into their stories. I was into their interactions. In fact, Mike was my favorite character in the movie. I thought he played not funny perfectly.
Oh, totally.
Didn't he?
Yeah, and I read one review on Letterboxd that I think it was on Letterboxd. I read somewhere someone said like he's kind of like the father of the group. Like he's kind of like he
makes dad
plays
jokes.
that role. Yeah, and like I was like, yeah, and that's perfect. Like he played that very well. Probably my favorite character aside from Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could be a stretch, but I do feel at times where like Hollywood can lose touch of what Midwesterners are actually like. I mean, good movies do it well,
sure,
but I feel like a lot of Hollywood movies play up the character of Mike for satire, and he was not a satirical character. He was just a dorky, not funny dad, and it was awesome.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
And
I agree.
Right? And so to follow him and Amanda, and Ben, I like, it mattered to me when people started dying in a way that kind of surprised me. The first death is entirely, like I said, it's entirely bloodless and just kind of happens. And I find that, it could be because I'm desensitized, but it also could be just because it's a movie that I don't connect with deaths in horror movies very often. They move on so quickly. I don't feel it very much, but I felt it in this movie. At least the first 3 or so.
That's interesting because I really didn't. That much.
Okay,
yeah,
wow.
And I think it was more just I was kind of hung up on the fact that we don't know the characters yet. Like we didn't get their backstories for the most part. We get like hints here and there. Like we see Amanda's scars on her back, and we see, that's about it really.
See, because for me, I felt like they gave you the backstory for the least interesting character, Zoe.
Yeah.
And I felt like we got exactly who Danny was, exactly who Mike was, and enough of who Amanda were through exposition. I think it did a good job of show, not tell.
Sure.
For the first 2/3 of the movie.
I can see that. Like, it did a good job of
like, we know who Danny is, and I don't give a shit about his backstory. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's who he is.
Mm-hmm. Like, it did a good job of establishing their personalities and their personality traits and everything. And just, I just was kind of, I don't know. It felt like they were trying to build this mystery of like, okay, why are they here? Why were they brought to this? And I'm like, I don't care at this point. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any, like, it didn't connect with me.
I don't think it did a good enough job of A, forcing us to ask why are they all here, and B, paying it off. Yeah. Which is the real Achilles heel of this movie.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
yeah. That first death, I feel like it led to one of the more contrived, like, character spats. Like, it felt like right after that scene, like, characters start clashing with each other, and it just felt so out of place and so, like, manufactured by the film.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, it was just like, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they're freezing.
Yeah.
Right? They're kind of losing touch a little bit.
I guess.
Especially because his reaction is, I was just being an asshole. I'm sorry. I thought that was so genuine.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess
to admit that, the reason is because he was just being an asshole. Sure. I thought that was hilarious. Isn't the word, but like, it felt authentic, at least to that character.
You mean Ben?
Ben.
Okay.
I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil, but yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. That like reaction did feel authentic, but it was who was it that anyway when
Jason
they start arguing,
flips out on him.
Yeah, when he flips out on it just felt like, I don't know. I don't know. And I think part of it is just like, well, I don't know. I was gonna say like, oh, these people just met, but it's also like that's a cop out criticism, because it's like, okay, if you just saw someone die, like, even if you didn't know them, like it's still going to have an effect on you. So I'll retract that. But it just felt like they were gunning for Ben because they felt like he was complicit in the character's demise without any real like reason for it. It's like, what did you do and everything? And it's just like, literally he's standing there and it's like, he wasn't, it felt just really like, it felt like, oh, we need like tension here.
Yeah.
Let's have these characters argue.
Yeah, I don't know. I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I thought it was at least slightly effective.
Sure. That's fair.
So I'll say a number of characters make it through to the next room.
Right.
Which is like the pool hall bar room.
Which, let's talk about this and then give overall thoughts and then just go into spoilers, I think.
Okay.
Because after that, it kind of goes into more spoilery stuff.
I think that'll work. I think we can give our emotional reaction after this scene. I think that's where, kind of like we've hinted at, it goes a bit off the rails, and then we'll get into spoilers. So they go into this bar, and I don't know that the puzzle is all that sophisticated, but the set piece is, I mean, it is a feature of this movie.
Absolutely. The highlight of the movie for me. It was, like you said, the actual puzzle aspect of it and like them trying to work through the clues and everything, that was fine, but it was really just the set design and the way that the camera moves around it. Like after a certain point,
they walk into the bar and they are on the ground, but everything is fastened to the ground in such a way that it appears to us like they're standing on the ceiling.
Exactly.
Right? Like the pool table is suspended relative to them on the ceiling.
Yes.
Right?
And, yeah. And there's an added element to it, which we can talk about in spoilers.
Yeah.
That was the most tension I felt in the movie was in this particular set piece.
Right.
Because the stakes were extremely high.
Absolutely. And so one of the characters needs to climb up to the top, and she's kind of hanging there with her knees like on top of this thing. And the camera, I really think to just show off, but like I dig it, right?
Same here.
Just flips so that we are oriented to where the room is right side up. The room looks natural, and it looks like she is hanging upside down. And it's awesome.
That was so cool. Like I would have this, like if they just had that sequence and had this as a short film that was just that sequence, like it would have been extremely memorable to me. It was like, I really, really enjoyed that. And also like, I mean, I guess it's kind of spoilery to say who the actress was in that.
Sure.
But,
doesn't matter.
But anyway, Deborah Ann Woll, she gave a very good, like, physical performance in that. And like, as I was watching that, I was like, I mean, she's in Daredevil, obviously, but it's like, give her like an action role. 'Cause like she can hold her own. Like she was kind of badass in it.
And she has a pretty good, believable dramatic beat in that scene.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that worked.
Yeah.
So
very cool scene.
Very cool scene. The movie, I want to talk a little more about this scene, what we liked, because it is I think the centerpiece. But this is also where we're going to unlock the spoilers.
Yes.
All right. Because after this, the movie goes off the rails.
It really does.
And we don't know an effective way to talk about it without spoiling.
Yeah. So before we do that, let's just give our overall thoughts on the movie, like how we felt about it as a complete piece, and then we can go into spoilers. So what was your overall thoughts on it? Or if you have anything more to say about the scene.
I'll just say I would see it again. The third act, I'm going to be vague and kind here and say it left me wanting. Stick around for the spoilers.
Yeah.
You'll hear me get a little angrier.
Sure.
I thought the performances were good. I think the idea is great. And I think with a little bit more money, we might have a franchise. Like I would go see part 2.
Yeah. That's tough because
I would go see a new group of people.
Sure.
Let me say that before we get into spoilers.
Sure. If they made a franchise of this, like, it's tricky because, like, okay, I would probably see it just because A-list.
Yeah. Right.
And,
why not?
Doldrums of everything. But also, real quick, this wasn't a Blumhouse production, was it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. But
No.
Overall, like, I give it kind of I wouldn't say scathing review. I don't know. Would you say it was scathing? Yeah.
Oh, you gave it
2
stars, which feels scathing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, about in the middle of scathing to not good.
Yeah, but it like I saw it. Probably will never see it again. Yeah. I enjoyed 2/3 of it. Then the last third I was not crazy about, and that's not to say that's the last third of the movie, even though it kind of is. But it's like, in the grand scheme of the hour and a half runtime, I enjoyed an hour of it.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Right.
But yeah, it feels like the type of movie that here in like a year or two, if I'm going back through the podcast or I'm like looking, like making notes or something like that, and I see that we recorded this episode, I'll be like, oh, Escape Room, that was a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go into spoilers.
Little boxes on the hillside. Little boxes made of sticky times.
They're watching us. They know every move that we're making.
There's a big farm.
They knew everything about us.
This is my hospital bed.
Me too. They made these rooms for us.
Have you ever seen things that weren't there before?
I am not imagining this.
Surviving is a choice.
I want to let me out of here now. That's why they chose us.
And they all look just the same.
So
Yeah.
the pool room scene is great. And
It is.
action-wise, the tension is that the floor, which looks like a ceiling, but is the floor that they are standing on, starts to drop out.
And before that, they like it's an elevator. Like they say that it's like rising up. So it's like you get that like, okay, well, there's a lot of room for them to fall.
Well, if you fall, you die. I mean, the stakes are made pretty clear. You fall, you die. And the floor starts dropping out, and they need to get to the top, so the ceiling of the relative room they're in.
Yeah.
Unlock the door and go. And it's awesome. It's so good.
So cool.
So Amanda is the character we were speaking of earlier. She goes up. There's a cool moment where she gets like the 8-ball out of the thing and it falls up and she catches it.
That was cool.
Right? Because the camera is disoriented.
That was so like that. I feel like I would be interested to know how they pitched this movie, because I feel like that, like if they pitched that sequence, like that's what sold the movie and got it made.
Yeah. Well, because it kind of fits the tone of what they were doing, right? Doesn't that feel like an escape room? Like disorientation is
totally
how you're supposed to feel. I think that's why that was so cool.
Oh yeah.
So they do that. It turns out Amanda dies saving them, right? Like she.
Yeah, which was a surprise to me, and also kind of a bummer, because I thought like the whole movie I was thinking like, oh, she's gonna be like the final girl.
Oh, really?
I did. Well, I went into the movie expecting that from the trailers, but then when I saw Zoe in the first scene, I was like, oh, okay, well she's gonna be the focal character.
Okay,
but I wanted
that
Amanda.
Must only be because you know her from something else.
Exactly.
I've never seen this woman before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you were kind of talking about her before, and I still generally have no idea who she is.
She's in Daredevil. She was also in True Blood, but
okay.
But yeah.
So looking at her IMDb, literally the only thing I've seen her in is Ruby Sparks.
Oh, she was in that. Interesting.
She was it. Apparently,
that was a charming
in that.
little movie.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I don't remember it all. So I had no idea who this woman is, and so I figured, given the audience, Zoe stood out to me as the main. She's also on the poster. I don't know if you noticed.
True. Yeah, she's on the poster, and also, like we said, she's one of the only characters to really get that backstory.
Yeah.
So
right
from
I
the
would
outset.
have guessed that she would have died first.
Oh, interesting.
To be honest with you.
I think also it's just I wanted her to survive because I enjoyed her performance.
Yeah. I'll say second. I think anybody in that theater, if you didn't know Danny was going to die first.
Oh yeah.
You probably don't watch a lot of movies.
Right. It seems like the way that the order that they die in seems very much like, okay, these are the ones that need to go.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, Danny's the escape room expert. Okay. Amanda is the kind of like, most fit one, I guess you would say, or.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's gotta go. It just felt, I don't know, it felt like, kind of was checking boxes.
A little formulaic, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect.
So anyway, is the next room that they go into, that's the hospital room,
the
right?
hospital.
The triage.
Yeah, which is
triage.
where, in terms of set design, I thought it looked cool, but it was where the movie started really, like you said, it's where it really started to fall apart for me.
Yeah. There were moments where, okay, so here's my review. When I got home and my wife asked me, I said, I have never in my life loved a movie so much for 2 acts and hated it more in the 3rd act.
Really?
That I can think of. Maybe I'm being too kind, but I really liked the beginning of this movie.
Sure.
I thought it really had something to say. I thought the characters were great and the traps and everything. I thought it was super interesting and I was into it. But this triage thing is fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
It felt like a placeholder draft and they just said, well, let's just go with what we got.
Exactly. Everything about it, like let's start with the exposition dump. Like we get all the characters, like their baggage and everything. That's the reason why they were picked, which, like, again, it's formulaic. It's what you expect, but it's also like, it feels like they didn't know what characters were going to be at that scene. So it's like, okay, well, here's Amanda's backstory. Here's Danny's backstory. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, it would have been cool if we had that beforehand, and like that gives us more, more emotional connection to the characters when they die. But I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way and kind of started to lose me a little bit.
I don't love it, but I can kind of give it a pass. It's one of those, like, to keep that central mystery, they needed it later. What's difficult for me is like, why did they just start revealing it there? That was a little, but again, I can give that a pass. Where I get lost is when Zoe is like, yes, let's start breaking the cameras. No, come with us. No, I'm going to stop this by breaking the cameras. And if it's a stupid idea.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
But if they make her like correct, then at least I go, well, they paid that off. But it does nothing.
The only reason why that was there was to connect it to what the teacher said about whatever the theory of whatever was. And it's
it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
He's
wrong. The only reason why it's in there is so that she can call back that scene. Like, it doesn't have any effect on the actual plot. I'm like, why even put that? Like, what's the deal?
That's very poor writing.
Yeah. And then, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll have to circle back and talk about Mike. But,
I agree with you, but go ahead.
Yeah. When the guys come in and they're like, why does she need an oxygen mask? And it's like, and then she's like,
you built that room.
Yeah. Yeah.
You built she's dying, right? So the room fills up with poisonous gas.
Yeah.
Who are we talking to? Like, if they're at the spoilers, haven't they heard it? Anyway,
I know.
The room fills up with poisonous gas.
To be fair, this is the type of movie that I feel like people are going to listen to the spoiler section without seeing it
Before
because
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
If you're still listening, if you're still into this episode, hit me with that code word, Green Goblin, this week.
Green Goblin, nice.
At I am Mike White, hit me with the hashtag Green Goblin.
Nice.
Thank you for listening. Anyway, so the room is filled with poison, and at this point, all that's left is Ben and Jason. Mike dies. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
And Zoe, and they're like, we gotta go. And she's like foaming at the mouth. And she's like, no, I'm gonna keep busting these stupid cameras, whatever.
Yeah.
And she passes out, and there's a pan out, and we see a little curled up, face mask, oxygen mask laying on the ground.
So we do see it before they come in. Okay, see, I didn't catch that before.
Yeah. I saw it there, and it was kind of hanging down at one other point. I saw it, and I figured that she would wake up. And so whatever. I guess that's a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina.
Sure.
Except that it's not. Because when those guys come in and they're like, what are the oxygen masks for? What do you fucking mean?
Yeah.
You built this room.
Like,
if those oxygen masks function, you put them there. That's inexplicable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, just the fact that they said, like, what does she need the oxygen mask for?
Right.
When they know, like, they are in, like, they have face masks and everything to keep from the poison from getting in them. Like, there's no reason why anyone would say that line.
No.
And it's only so that she can do the big, like, hero moment where she's like, to breathe, fucker, or whatever.
Yep.
And then, to breathe, bitches.
Yeah.
And, like, I just really rolled my eyes at that. Yeah, but
that was
anyway,
bad.
Yeah.
That was a low point to me. That was a really low point.
But Mike's death.
Okay.
That bothered me too.
Not just his
how'd you feel
death,
about
but
it?
the solution to that puzzle.
Yes.
So they go in and they do the sign language thing, which whatever, he knows sign language. Okay.
Sure.
Fine. And it's the EKG machine, right?
Yeah.
How in the world did they guess to use it on somebody?
Yeah. That's such a huge leap. And like,
I literally made like Matt and I are video chatting right now, so you can see. Like, I turned to Jake and I like made like a leaping motion with my hand.
Nice.
Because I was like, they just stepped over that plot.
They really did. Oh yeah. It's ridiculous.
To get from one end to the other. And I'm like, okay, so EKG, I guess you use it, whatever. Let's use it on the old out of shape guy? I don't know.
Right.
And then so that doesn't work, and he's like, oh no, I need to meditate and feel it. I just
it's not so much like, cause then he kills Mike because he uses the paddles on him to raise his heartbeat, which that, like, on paper is an interesting concept because he's making the unilateral decision to, sacrifice one of them to save them. And like and again, that's stuff that, we saw in, like, Saw 2 comes to mind also, but like other movies of the ilk, like, it's formulaic.
Right. And it's fine. We find out he's damaged. We find out he's killed his friend. This is not unheard of behavior.
But it didn't feel organic to it. Cause like you said, they made such a leap to figure it out. And I get it that they're panicked and everything, but it's also like, it bothered me. It didn't connect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zoe dies, and I put that in quotes because she did not die.
Right.
And then they escape through another air vent. Lots of vents.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Lots of vents. So they go through the vent. They go to the next room, and I actually like this.
Oh yes.
I thought it was a breath of fresh air. I thought it breathed life into the film.
So did I.
Like, it almost saved it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I could get past that last room because I really liked where this one was going.
Yeah. it was cool. Like the visual style of it was very trippy. Like they go into, and it's kind of a trippy room, and then they get drugged.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. I liked it.
Do the characters figure out that they're survivors in the triage room, don't they?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't think I hate it.
I like it as a concept.
Me too.
It kind of has like, kind of has a Mr. Glass feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's an intriguing concept, and I like it because it's not like the comparison I've been making to the movie is Saw 2, and like the Saw 2 is a similar concept where there's a group of people that are connected in a significant way, trapped by Jigsaw, and it's like that handled it a lot better just because it's a more personal like connection and everything.
Right.
This, on the other hand, this also worked for me because it's an intriguing idea.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so then the trippy drugged room and everything was cool. I liked the kind of frenetic energy of fighting for the syringe. I also like that Ben, who is a character who at this point is like he's the one that's had the most, I guess you would say, character development or characterization. He goes from like this stoner dumbass kind of guy to the final boy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I like that, like when he finds the syringe, like there's a brief moment where he's like, I found it, or he tells Jason like, hey, I have it. And like, it's not like he just automatically sticks into himself. Like he starts to say it, and then they fight and everything. So I liked that.
Me too. I feel like there's also a second syringe in there that rattles.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Like I
didn't
think
pick up on that.
And maybe I'm giving a little too much credit to the movie, but which, by the way, is a Saw 5 plot. That's a Saw 5 moment.
Interesting.
Right? Of that they all could get out with teamwork. Whatever. So Ben inadvertently kills Jason, breaks his neck, drops through the ceiling. Too. That was cool. Yeah. And we're at we see the beginning scene again, find out that Zoe's still alive. She kind of saves the day.
Yeah.
So then they bust out and, or Ben busts out. And we meet the architect at the center of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Or I guess he might be the Merovingian.
Sure.
Shout out to all my Matrix fans.
Nice.
And he like does another exposition dump of how they gamble on these people. And I remember like wishing it was better, but like not hating the idea.
Yeah, it felt like it was just really what, again, kind of just expected. Like, it's not, I don't know, it was serviceable.
Yeah. I wanted more, I don't know, I guess I wanted more depth to why they were chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, and we get some of it, like the whole, like, oh, last year it was this, and this year it's Survivors, and like, I like that like that as a concept. Also, it feels like again, that feels like it's Cabin in the Woods or Belko Experiment or really any other movie like this that did
Unfriended Dark Web.
Unfriended Dark Web. Yep.
Yeah, it's a common theme this year.
Yeah, I don't know, it didn't really do much for me. Also, okay. The line where he, like, when he attacks Ben and he's like, well, when horses win the Kentucky Derby, they don't get a prize or something like that. I'm like, well, I mean,
they don't kill them.
Yeah, let's hold your horses here, pun intended. But like, you know, if a horse is like really good, like he's put out to stud, like he's you know, there is like, they don't just murder.
They don't
horses.
They don't choke them with garrote wire. That's
exactly.
Yeah, that was super cheesy too.
Yeah.
I like, why would they kill him? They wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well-
The investors, they would say send him back in, right? Put him in another one. There's no way they would kill him. That's just.
Yeah, I guess. Cause like at that point I was thinking like, okay, well, I like the idea. It would have worked better if they just put him back in, and that's how the movie ended even.
Yeah.
But, at that point I was also like, well, he's talking about like how he's going to be released, or he's like, let him go and everything, but it's also like, there's no way that they would let him go, cause, I mean, he knows too much. He's seen too much. He's experienced too much.
Right.
But just that line was just corny and silly to me.
Yeah, it's real bad. So Zoe gets out.
She
kills
saves
the guy.
day.
Whatever, saves the
Yeah.
day. They escape. And this movie does not clean itself up at the end.
It's shat the bed so hard.
It really does. It
Yeah.
really does. And I think part of it, I think a major part of it is the performance by the girl who plays Zoe. I think she's really, really bad.
Yeah, she did not sell the role that well, really, at all. Oh, she was in Lost in Space on Netflix.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I thought she was really bad. I feel like it felt like she wasn't living in those lines and just kind of delivering them by rote.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's like they go back, they go to the police, and the police go in, and they've cleaned up the room, and she's freaking out. Or am I imagining things? And I'm like, okay. So what are they trying to establish, that this was all a dream? Like they did. I don't think that they needed to include that.
No.
I think we could have assumed that these people would clean up immediately.
Yeah. Well,
right?
they try to misdirect us by having the detective that takes her there be an Asian guy. And like, I was thinking like, oh, this is the doctor.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's silly, but okay, whatever. At least it connects. And then they actually reveal what the doctor's name is supposed to be. Yeah. And it's like the whole No Way Out thing. I was like,
No Way Out. Oh,
okay. That was really
horrific.
I had to fight back from laughing hysterically at that because it was so dumb.
Well, with the floating letters,
that was just the icing on the dumb cake.
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's the thing. I was like, wait, so is she back in it right now?
That's what I thought too.
Exactly. They imply that there's no way out like 3 times in 3 different ways at the end of this movie. It's like they couldn't come up with the best way to cliffhang it. Yeah. So they were just like, let's just use all 3 ideas.
Yeah. It's like they spent they spent all of their energy making an anagram for No Way Out with instead of actually creating a way to have it be No Way Out. Yeah. Because like the way out is they literally walk through a door and they're out. Like it's pretty easy.
If the movie ends and it says No Way Out, right, and there's the anagram and it pays off that she does puzzles, and that's the end, I go, that's kind of dumb, but okay. She's still in it. They're gonna die. Maybe the sequel. You know what I mean? Like at that point, it's like at least leaving enough. Like she's figured out the word puzzle, but not how to escape. Then I'm like, okay, we get that uncomfortable feeling at the end, and I'm a little satisfied with that. Yeah,
but
they do 9 months later.
Yeah,
and it is one of the most unnecessary. It's not a stinger because it's before the credits.
Just an epilogue to the story.
There you go. Epilogue.
Very, very reminiscent of Final Destination.
Yes.
And it's so dumb. Like it's dumb, and it's like it's an epilogue and then another like an epilogue on top of that. Like it's like you said, it's like they didn't know how to end it. They had no idea what they were doing.
So she delivers these awful lines. She poorly delivers
She
these dumb
recites
lines,
these words that were written down for her.
right, about their logo becomes like an MC Escher
Yeah.
like staircase or whatever. Mm-hmm. Which I love MC Escher, and I love that impossible staircase.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like not even following what she's saying. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Something about coordinates.
Yeah, and she's like, you gotta go, and he's like, I'm not gonna go, we're out. And she's like, no, you have to, and he's like, all right, let's go.
Which, okay, that right there, why the fuck would you go back? I
don't know.
It's ridiculous.
That's stupid. And then, so even then, so end it there, and I go, that was also kind of a little dumb, but now they're setting up a sequel.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's okay. Yeah.
But when they start show the plane is having a similar thing, and I'm like, okay, cool. We're seeing another, like, I'm hoping that it's like a parallel instance, like this is happening worldwide. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Setting up that part 2 is going to be like, this is Project Mayhem or something like that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into it. Yeah. They're doing a puzzle. The male flight attendant is even worse than Zoe with the line readings.
He really is.
Like,
which I guess
we're laughing in the theater.
Given the context of what it actually, like, it makes sense, but it's also like, come on.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Good point. Yeah. Good point. He's acting, isn't he?
Yeah. But at that point, we don't know.
Right. So they don't solve the thing, and it turns out that this is like the test run area. Yeah. And who needed this?
No one. Like,
this is the worst. When so earlier when I gave them credit for showing, not telling with the character development, showing the like how they make the games was idiotic.
Absolutely. And like, I like to borrow your kind of analysis of these like endless end segments. Like, had it not been a simulation and everything, I would have almost been okay with that even.
Right.
If like they were on the plane, like that was showing like,
yes,
like they were on the plane and like it would have like panned over and been like, oh, let's figure it out. And like they were the ones that were working it out and then they died, or it was left ambiguous like that. Because there's no way out.
Show that happening.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Is that they're either they have ruined the reveal for part 2.
Yeah.
Or if there's not a part 2, they showed us a significantly less interesting end to that movie.
It showed
they showed us a boring, like, they literally told us, hey, they're gonna die, this is how it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it was like, there's this whole, like, man behind the curtain element to it that just, it loses the mystique of it. Like,
right.
We see a freaking simulation of it, it's like, okay, it ruins whatever kind of magic is involved with the escape rooms and stuff.
Right.
And then also just the dialogue of the shadowy guy on the screen.
Yeah.
Saying like, I'm glad that Zoe got over her fear of flying or something. It was
yeah.
That was just
like they
dumb.
show in the Saw sequels, they show how John Kramer, Jigsaw, makes the puzzles late in later movies as Easter eggs for earlier traps.
Okay.
And it's almost like they're trying to evoke that feeling at the end of that movie, though, where we just saw that idea. That's so stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Who, like...
Yeah.
I imagine... Like, who watched that scene and went, oh...
Right. I really don't know.
Is that what they expected us to feel?
I guess, but like what? I don't know what purpose it was. Like, was no one in the room saying like, "Hey, let's just make them on the make that the plane thing and leave it ambiguous like that"? That would be more thrilling, and it would open us up for a sequel, which they still do. But it's like, why not just go with that instead of going off the deep end with that bullshit?
Show them in the plane.
Mm-hmm.
One of the propellers blows up,
Mm-hmm.
and a bag pops out and says, "Welcome to the game." Right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Escape Plane, or whatever.
Right.
That's a good ending. It's a serviceable ending.
Yeah.
Or
it's a salvageable thing.
she's in the room and it says "No way out,"
Mm-hmm.
and the police walk out.
Yes.
Black. Right?
That would have been good.
That's cool.
Yeah. Or like have like this would have been cheesy but fitting within the framework of the movie. Like have them on the plane and then have the pilot announce like, "Oh, I'm your pilot, whatever the name was." And then that would be the end. Like that would Watanyu.
Mm-hmm.
And like that would have been like the end. Like the end.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, we're in an escape room.
Right.
But anything over what we got. Like what like it was like they were trying, like it was like they thought that they were being clever, but it wasn't clever at all.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I hate, and I find this in the teenagers that I teach. They'll talk about alternate endings of things. Oh, it would have been cool if they did this, or if they, like, we're not trying to rewrite the ending.
Right.
You and me, right? We're not screenwriters, but like what we're trying to point out is how ridiculous.
Yeah.
And unnecessary the ending they chose was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could have ended 6 minutes earlier.
Oh, absolutely. It really shit the bed. Like it was just not good.
Yeah.
It was, and I mean, I don't know. It was an interesting way to kick off 2019 in movies. But it was funny because like I kind of had this experience, and this is a tangent, but about the theater experience. But, first of all, it was kind of a packed house. Well, not packed house, but pretty considerable amount of people in the theater.
Sold out in Evansville.
Oh, really? Nice.
Literally sold out.
Wow.
We sat in the front row.
Oh, wow.
Like the break your neck row.
Jeez. I sat in
because usually I get my tickets the morning of at work.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it was like back to school after Christmas break. I got a little caught up, and we were at dinner at B-Dubs. I was like, all right, we should look at our tickets. And all that was left was two in the back, and we've seen one in the back, and like it rattled too loud. We couldn't hear the dialogue.
Oh, interesting.
So we're like, let's just sit in the front too. And so as we sat down and I'm looking up at the screen and I'm like, this isn't going to work. Let me just see on the app if there are any more seats. And it says, I don't know if you've ever seen, sold out underneath the thing.
Mm-hmm. I saw that, this was Friday. I was looking at the app because I was like, I might want to see a movie after work. I ended up rewatching Roma, but, I went onto the AMC app and I was like, oh, okay, well, I could maybe see Spider-Verse again after work. But I scrolled down and, Instant Family had a like 1:20 showing that was sold out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's
people like stupid shit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, Instant Family came out like 2 months ago. Like,
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So I was like wondering, like, I bet like
small screen.
Maybe. Also, I kind of thought like maybe someone like a group like bought out the screening or like
yeah.
But I don't know.
Church group.
Yeah. But anyway, but my interesting theater experience was that I was in the back row, back center. I had checked beforehand to see if there are any other, like when I got to the theater, I was like, I checked to see because I wanted to know if like I should expect people to be like in the seats next to me because you know whatever. Full row, so people on either side. And then I noticed the one on the end was open, and I was like, I could cancel my ticket and then go to that one, just to be more comfortable, I guess. But I didn't. But anyway, so I went into the theater, then I went into the bathroom after I scanned in, and like again, this is the first theater experience of 2019. I do my business. I'm washing my hands, and I kind of hear something in the handicap stall. There's a guy on his knees puking into the toilet.
Sweet.
And I'm like, is this what my
Did
2019?
you just watch Escape Room?
Yeah, right. I was just like, is this what is going to be my 2019 and theater viewings is going to be like?
Well, seeing movies in theater is a very public thing. And if you don't like public events, and kind of both of us are pretty anxious about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You run into all types of people. You see
Absolutely.
it all. If you've seen 400 movies, you've seen it all.
Yep.
You've talked to a lot of people that you maybe don't want to talk to. You've sat next to people. You've seen it all.
Yep. I'm gonna talk about this in the year in review episode, but I still think, like, in terms of the podcast in 2018, your story about the first Purge, like that whole story you told,
Oh man,
was one of my favorite things in the podcast last year.
that's awesome.
It's a blast to listen to listen to your anxiety.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed my frustration and pain. It's fun telling, like, as I'm saying, you experience a lot doing these things. That is the story I was thinking of, was that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's interesting, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot of good experiences this year.
Yeah.
Especially with A-List and everything.
For sure.
And by
the way, side tangent.
Yes.
Listeners, again, if you're still listening, hit us with that Green Goblin hashtag. But I think, you can tell I've been on the podcast a little more frequently.
Yes.
As of late, hoping to make a more of an effort of that this year. Kind of be on here a little more frequently, because I love doing this. Love talking to you guys.
Yep. I am super excited for that. Like, again, we keep referencing the year in review episode that hasn't been recorded yet, but, like, in my notes for the episode, like, I've been afraid to show you guys the itinerary I have set out, because it's detailed. This
is going to be a 4-hour episode.
I mean, who knows? I don't think it'll be that long, because it's a lot of, like, oh, this point. Like, it's not going to be, we're not going to spend like 30 minutes on each individual one, but it is, in the almost 6 years of podcasting, the most detailed notes I've had for any episode prior to recording. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. But one of the points, like one of the headings or whatever, is the podcast in 2019, and I have some, like, goals I want to do, and one of them is more mic appearances, please. So I'm excited to have you back on as often as we can get you.
For sure, man. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm really excited at the idea of Tiny having A-List, because if we can sync up, like, movies and everything, we can do, and, like, schedule permitting and stuff, like, we could do a full review of new release movies that you guys see in your movie night. Also, when I saw Escape Room, I didn't have this thought until we were talking about it. I saw it Thursday night at 7. You guys saw it, like, Thursday at, like, what, 6:20 or something?
6:45.
Yeah, so it's like I was virtually, like, I was trying to be a part of your movie night from afar.
Oh, so. Yeah. We were definitely sitting in the theater at the same time for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So since this is a bonus episode, do we need to do a potpourri? Do you want to do one?
There's not a whole lot I've watched recently.
Yeah.
So.
There's a bunch that I've watched, but it's all, like, in preparation for the year in review, so we can forego it. That's fine. But yeah, so
we're also going to skip. We're also going to, we already recorded the year in review podcast.
Right.
I can't. Why am I fucking pretending? Even though you literally just talked about how we're about to do our podcast. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, it's Saturday night, January 5th. We're going to record it on January 7th. So there you go.
Exactly.
The curtain has been lifted.
Yes.
This is going to come out next whatever, Friday. I don't know when Matt's going to put it out.
Yeah.
And you will have already, I hope, heard us yesterday, 2 days ago.
Right. This is the podcast equivalent of us showing the plane simulation.
Oh my God,
in
it
escape
is. Now we're just rambling. Now we're really at a point where anybody, like, does anybody, are you guys listening? Do we?
I'm sure that they do,
Like-
because I know that Matt and Draco listens to us in the shower.
Okay, right
So
on.
I think that he's not able to turn it off as quickly as he as
That's
as he would be able to.
interesting. You said Matt is his name?
Yeah, Matt and Draco.
And Draco. Matt, it's interesting that you listen in the shower. I love that. That's awesome. That's cool. But it's when I do my best thinking.
Oh yes.
So
Oh,
I
yeah,
wonder
shower
if
thoughts.
you're missing out, on essential shower thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you need to change up your schedule. I love having you.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
hope he doesn't, because I like the idea of people listening to us when they're bathing.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're
That's
just
weird.
kind of rambling now.
We
I'm
are.
okay with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I
Good
think
radio.
we should. Yeah,
The review is
right.
over. You
Yeah.
guys are just, it's like Ferris Bueller. You guys are still here?
Right.
Go home. Or you can keep listening.
Oh God. Right.
We made
It's funny.
we
Talked
made a
about
cake today.
You did?
We did. Yeah. So
Oh, was it for Howie's 10 months?
Oh, no,
that it?
it's not, but that's
Oh, okay.
cute for remembering. Yeah, my son is 10 months old today. Howie's 10 months
Nice.
old. That's cute. Thank you. No, for the love of my life, the Bears.
Oh, nice.
So
Thought you were gonna
it's
say the podcast.
playoff weekend. The Colts played today. I went over to my friends and watched the Colts with him. And then tomorrow is the Bears game, and I wanted to make a Bears cake. And so we made a white cake, but we dyed it orange and blue and swirled it, and then made a
Okay.
brown icing with the Bears logo, and it looks like shit. It looks terrible. Like
Wow.
the cake started to crumble as we were putting icing on it.
Wow.
is
It's the thought
really
that
good.
counts.
We're gonna win podcast of the year for this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, thankfully it's a bonus episode, and they've already heard our 5-hour year in review episode.
Yeah, it's all bonus. That's what
yeah.
I'm saying here. It's
Exactly.
like, we can keep talking. It's
Yeah.
a free podcast.
Exactly.
It's you're getting bonus content here. This is the good stuff. You playing
Exactly.
any video games lately?
It's funny.
Guys, I'm just talking to my friend here is all. We're just
It's
recording
actually-
talking.
Yeah, it's actually funny you asked if I played any video games, because I haven't. I'm still working on Red Dead 2, but it's funny
Oh, right.
because I for Christmas my family did like a Secret Santa thing, and we each made a list of like 3 things that we want. And on my list I had like the Mission Impossible Blu-ray set. I had something else. Oh, a microphone for the podcast.
Okay, right
And
on.
a spare PS4 controller.
Okay.
I ended up getting the PS4 controller. It's funny because like getting it, it's like I didn't ask for it because I want to have people over to play video games with. I want it so that I can have a spare one charging when I'm playing with my
shit.
main one.
Wow.
So that's a window into my life.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. Yep. But
I'm still playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. I got a Switch for my birthday back in November.
Nice.
I did not get it when it came out a year and a half ago or whatever.
right.
So I beat it, just main quest, and I've been going back to get all the shrines. I was
nice.
actually in the process of getting the very last shrine when
Nice.
Matt messaged me and said, yeah, let's record.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm there.
Have you done any of the Spider-Man DLC or anything?
No. Well,
Okay.
as you know, I bought Spider-Man the day it came. That's the first time
Right.
I've bought a game day of in a couple of years.
Oh,
And
okay.
I played it hard. I went hard. I platinumed
yeah.
it. It's the first game I've ever platinumed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
loved the Spider-Man game. It's great.
Totally.
But as soon as I was done with it, October hit. Right? And so it was all
yeah.
Shocktober stuff. And then I got the Switch for my birthday, so I've been in Zelda. So I'm waiting, really till I'm done with Zelda, maybe next week actually,
Okay.
to get all the DLC and hopefully platinum that.
Nice. I need to get the DLC, but I'm not in any rush because I've got Red Dead 2, and that's a huge time suck.
I'm scared to get into that game.
Yeah, it's so immersive and big.
I love the first one. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that I wish that, like, I gave my brother my PS3 because I didn't really need it anymore since I got a PS4. But like, I find myself like wanting to play Red Dead 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can't really do that because it's not backwards compatible, and they don't even, like, I even thought like I would buy it on the PlayStation Store if they had it, but
right,
they don't.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. All right, I gotta go to bed.
All right, I gotta watch TV. So
My kids are gonna wake up in 7 hours.
Oh God! Wow.
Yeah.
I slept. I slept
Don't
pretty
even
much
say it.
all day today. It was nice.
God.
Got a cuddle with my cat. It was nice.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much for letting me interrupt your video gaming.
Yeah. We hope you guys enjoyed this bonus content. You better not cut this off, Matt.
Yeah. Oh no. This is
juicy stuff.
It is good. Oh yeah.
I almost feel like we should do a second secret hashtag here at the end.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yeah. What should it be? Platinum Spider-Man.
You come up with what's that?
Platinum Spider-Man.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hashtag platinum. We'll say Spidey.
Yeah.
Keep it short.
Platinum
hashtag
Spidey.
platinum Spidey.
Yes.
If you're still listening to this extended bonus episode.
Absolutely.
For real though, thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it this far, I guess it was just a really long drive. We love it. We love talking about this stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'll be on here frequently.
Yep.
Take it home, Matt.
Can't wait. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, where Mike and I recorded a special little bonus content thing about 15 minutes before this episode. So you'll get access to a special RSS feed on Patreon that will get you exclusive content recorded specifically for Patreon. Minimum subscription donation. There you go. Minimum donation of $1 per month gets you that content, and we love doing it, and we love doing this podcast. And welcome to 2019, and hope you guys enjoyed our 7-hour year in review episode earlier this week. So
marathon podcasts.
Oh yes. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy.
And then they'd say, okay, you guys can pick one. And sometimes we pick a classic, and sometimes we would also want a new release that week. And as we got older, sometimes we were also interested in the modern films, or not the modern films, but the more adult films. That sounds bad. Not adult films. I mean, I was
when you were a kid,
interested in adult films, but not with my parents.
Right.
I mean, not with my parents in them, but I mean, like watching adult films with my parents. I mean, like films for. Anyway, I'm kidding.
Nice.
That was like a riff for one person.
But I got a ton of enjoyment out of it.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at ObsessiveViewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!